Peace. It's an honor to have you take time out with Consciously Aware Podcast, where thoughts breathe, truth speaks, and silence no longer hides in the shadows. This is more than conversation, it's awareness in motion, a journey through mind, spirit, and the unseen layers of life. Here we question, we feel, we rise. So open your mind, open your heart, and step into the space where conscious meets truth. Here's your host, ChillyMoe.
Welcome back to Consciously Aware Podcast. Today will be an episode where I just kind of focus on the balancing part of life. You know, the things we deal with, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights. You know, when you wake up and you feel like the day might be too much to handle, but then you get through your day anyway. I believe we're going to focus on that today. Today I have a special guest by the name of War and Peace.
How you doing? I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clear.
All right.
War and Peace is something that it kind of self-explanatory. You know, both kind of coincide together. So I brought this guest on this show today, Consciously Aware Podcast with ChillyMoe, because this person has a distinctive thought process and well-mannered charisma and very, very vocal with her opinions and her wisdom. So, War and Peace, I want to ask you something.
Okay.
We're going through a lot. You know, we got the government shut down. A lot of good and bad floating around in the world. Let me ask you, with the government shutdown and the SNAP EBT and everything that the news offered, I don't want to talk too much about the news. Has any of this government shutdown affected anybody in your life or affected you personally?
To be honest, I have not been watching the news. If you want to know the truth, I've not been watching the news. I've been going through my own crisis, and that makes it really hard to tune into more crises in the world. And although previous me would have found that pretty irresponsible, right now I am putting my focus where my responsibility is. Do I think that it's affecting lots of people? Sure, of course. I just received a message the other day from SNAP that said that my benefits won't be able to be used out of state. That's concerning because, for instance, what if people have to travel for emergency purposes? Deaths in the family, hospitalizations, or an out-of-state job that may be in another state, but not long-term or not permanent. So I'm sure that has an effect on people. And just in general, when the government shuts down, it's great that they're advocating for all the stuff that we need and want, right? But at the end of the day, they get to sit there and contemplate their belly buttons and argue back and forth about who's right and who's wrong. And in the meantime, there are people that are depending on the services that the government itself is in charge of. So what do you do?
That's a good point. You know, it's like the blind leading the blind. You know, we pay taxes, right? We have a criteria that we have to abide by as citizens, right? And then we deal with what actually notice they have no structure for real. So, I noticed that the mood changed within the people that I encounter throughout my day, right? I go to work, I go to stores, everybody's speaking the same thing. Government shutdown. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna survive? To speak on your situation, you said you're dealing with your own um, situations. Where do we go to for help if everybody else dealing with their own problems, right? So let me ask you, how are you dealing with, and what are you doing towards situations that you're encountering? And if you want to share with the listeners, or would you rather not?
To be honest, I am part of my crisis is I don't know where it's safe to share and where it's not. Um, I have, and not just me, I think that, if you've been through real psychopathic abuse, narcissistic abuse, you begin to notice patterns in the world that mimic that same abuse on a grander scale. In part because they're made of the same people who came from these families, right? Which is why I've always thought that family is incredibly important. For me, in my situation, it was not something that stopped when I left. It was not something that could be escaped. And the person who initially was doing it was a master in knowing the systems that we have to operate in. And without having to change the systems, was able to change the system's perception of me. Now, that can happen sometimes just by way of birth. There are places that we go that, for one reason or another, there may be biases against you, discrimination against you, stereotypes, and in systems, just like families that are imperfect, made with imperfect people, those biases and discriminatory things can seep its way in. However, it's our job to hold them accountable. What I've been experiencing has now manifested into a much larger thing where it's affecting my rights as a mother. I have not been able to get sufficient or adequate help in locating them, which is terrifying for any parent. And especially when you know what's going on and you know the lengths that he'll go to cover it up. And unfortunately, what happens sometimes is, so for instance, if there's a group that's been discriminated against, that there are stereotypes, I won't speak about anybody else's experience. I tend to do that. I'll speak about my own. So I'm Jewish. I'm Israeli, meaning on my father's maternal side, he was the 14th generation born there. So we're talking about hundreds of years. And on the paternal side of my father's side, my grandfather relocated there after the Holocaust. So anti-Semitism becomes a big issue, whether or not you're experiencing it at the time, but it's always, there's always this underlying fear that people think differently of you, that people have preconceived notions about not just your behavior, but your morality. And not just your worth, but your inherent value as a person. Because at the end of the day, what happens when people believe propaganda without understanding the whole story, when they see snippets on the news that are horrifying, for anybody to watch, no matter what side you're on, those are horrifying things that are happening. Without seeing perhaps the other things that are going on, then you become the boogeyman, right? You become the bad one. You become the child killer, the one who lacks humanity, the one who, I always laughed at the one they always the one that always got me the most is the people say that a lot of people believe that we run the world. And I always found that one pretty funny, because if you look at world population, we are, I think, 0.1% or 0.2% of the entire population on Earth. A significant change since the Holocaust. I think another group that could understand that pretty well are indigenous people, who some of their tribes no longer exist at all. And so things like preservation become something really important. But the other thing that happens is you begin to walk around with the knowledge, or at least the idea, that there are assumptions, and don't acknowledge it in your present consciousness. There is always something underlying. We saw a lot of it with matter. That Martin and the hoodies.
Yeah, sorry about that. War and peace to everybody in the world that's listening and paying attention. We need to do better.
We need to do better. Tell me what you mean by that, because I agree we need to do better.
Well, I
So,
would, anyone that knows of someone going through anything to lend a hand, because we don't live in this world by ourselves. Meaning, everybody notice the other person, right? Everyone can sense something's wrong with someone if you glance at them. You can glance at someone for 10 seconds and you can kind of tell their mood if you're focusing, right? So when I say do better, anyone in your that knows you, know of you and your situations should do better. Including my life, including anyone that overlooks next person, to really take a step back and say that could be me someday. Put yourself in that person's shoes. How would you feel if you had no? How would you feel if you had no one to depend on when you really need it? So all I'm saying is for you to endure everything you're enduring without having help, right? Is
can I
a
take that even a step further? Because what if you have somebody who you were the only one they could depend on?
okay.
And things were set up as such that you're not able to care for them. Whether it be because after years of abuse and cooperation from other people, you now have an illness, or whether it be because you have something called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is essentially when you have been seeking help so
Mm-hmm.
much, often with repercussions or just being ignored, that you no longer believe that seeking help is the right answer, particularly because there are repercussions. Um, there are certain stigmas about certain mental illnesses that you deal with, or certain things that make it harder. I, for instance, have ADHD.
Okay.
When I am nervous, when I'm stressed, I mean, and honestly, speaking on a podcast is something I've always wanted to do. And what I've learned now that I've had the opportunity is that when I am in a state of stress, often, and when I am speaking about an issue that is currently stressful to me,
Mm.
um, my ability to organize what I want to say
Mm-hmm.
and present it in a clear and concise way that stays on track,
Right.
that continues to hold somebody's attention,
Mm.
particularly if it's important and I need them to pay attention.
Okay.
Um, I've seen people who have drug problems
Mm.
um, that were treated less than human. I think the problem is that anytime there's an individual
Mm.
that can see another individual as less than human, and then they become a person who's in a position of power,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be economic power, power of position, for instance, religious leaders, influencers now are a big one that can be included in that. People who hold office in government, people who hold positions in court, like judges,
Okay.
um, who may have personal biases. And we have biases that exist in our culture. For instance, when people hear that I don't have my kids, they make assumptions about me. They make assumptions about me that they wouldn't necessarily make about a man. They have no idea of my past history of homeschooling my kids, of um, all the activities and things that I made for them and did with them, of the fact that even though I've been I've been known to be a fuck up in my life, the one thing that I did well and got praised for was how I raised my children, how I treated other people's children, how I showed up for friends, how I showed up for family even when they didn't show up for me. And slowly over time, those things. So when I was a married woman, people accepted that at face value. Even when I was a single mom, people accepted those at face value. When I became a divorced single mom who now was being alienated from her children, people think there's got to be more to the story. There's got to be something wrong with me. I must have abandoned them. I must be this. I must be that. I must be, and they have no interest in getting to know who I am. And the problem with that is when you have these pre-existing things, and a lot of these are based on, sort of patriarchal views. We have the whole Madonna and whore complex, right? There's the women who raise our children and who we marry, and there's the women who we sleep with and pass around. And even though they may not be, even though they're subtle,
Okay.
it it translates into how people are making rulings. For instance, the judge in my case, and I still had my children the majority of the time for the next 6 years after my divorce was finalized, and for the first 3 years that we were separated, and our entire marriage. So to be clear about that,
That's good.
he just, well, it was and it wasn't. The thing was is that he wanted 50-50 custody, and he continued to be granted it. The reason he wanted 50-50 custody is because then not only did he have economic power over me, because my kids had to be homeschooled. I had several kids with several kids. I only have 4 kids, but enough of them had some medical issues, and then because of the things that were caused, including economic distress, including loss of family and loved ones that didn't want to be involved, including groups that we were no longer invited to because that they were afraid it would bring drama, or because I wasn't always happy and on top of things. Sometimes I was pretty sad and crying because of the things that were happening. And so I had kids that had medical issues. I had my own issues that were going on during my marriage. There was a lot of sexual abuse and assault that was regular, that was ongoing, that I was told that I should be grateful for because he was attracted to me. There was financial abuse where I wasn't allowed access to the accounts. I didn't know what we had, nor did I know how much things cost, because I wasn't allowed access to them. So I would often work odd jobs or sell things or use my birthday money, but often that money, he would cause some sort of need or crisis, and often that money would be gone quickly. We also lived with my mother, who, in my opinion, he was financially abusing as well. He would use my mother's opinion about me that I was irresponsible when it came to financial matters, in part because she, as a feminist, so even within a patriarchy, sometimes feminism can become patriarchal. And as a feminist, she believed not only that women should have a right to have careers and get paid the same, but that women should have careers and pay the same. It was probably based on her background with 2 abusive husbands. My father was included in that. And her being raised probably by Depression era parents, one of which was in the military and had a drinking problem for several years, that caused some economic issues in her family growing up. Anyway, she had all these reasons that I didn't have growing up, that she felt that that being able to stay at home was a privilege, and that I was irresponsible in making that choice. And she was not looking at it from the perspective that I was. The perspective that I was looking at is I did not grow up in a family where I had to worry about money. I grew up in a family that was often very spread out. I grew up in a family where there were multiple family members I didn't know that were in another country and I didn't know, or I only saw at major events, typically major events that my father would bring together. And when he died, when I was pretty young, in my early 20s, those events stopped happening.
Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. And, I'm I'm not traumatized by it now. I've processed that all. Are there moments that you miss your parents no matter what? Sure. And
Mm-hmm.
with everything that I've gone through, have I wished that he would be here? Yeah, sometimes I don't know if he'd do the wrong thing, and he was a pretty powerful force. So if he thought what I was doing was not what he wanted, he probably would have looked for a way to control it in another situation. And that was another part of my childhood
Mm-hmm.
is I had a very passive mother who worked all the time,
Okay.
including when she would get home from work. She would
Mm-hmm.
continue to work at her laptop all the time. My activity with her was watching TV and listening to her type. And I still miss the sound of those typing, the clacking on the keyboard. But that's what we would do. And I didn't have siblings around me that were close in age. Siblings were all older, and they were all busy pursuing financial success. My father was incredibly busy pursuing financial success. For one, parents were artists, meaning they had no money. you know,
Mm.
you're
Warren
he was
P, I want to ask you a
and
question.
sure.
Your name is very two-sided, right? And
Mm.
you told me one side of your name. Where are you at now? If you can take one of your double adjectives away, and
Mm-hmm.
which one would you take away right now? Because you told me a lot of past occurrences, and as we evolve, time progresses, we tend to either outgrow, leave situations. So I'm just asking, any of those situations you're going through right now to make you feel the way you feel, or are you over majority of the things you're explaining? Only because I want my audience to understand that.
So that's a good question because I get accused often of living in the past and not being able to move forward.
Okay.
And I understand the criticism.
Mm,
It's not one that goes without understanding. It's been one of the sole reasons that my case was so complex and hard to fight is because the reality is and you can look at this on other systems is you can't go forward without making up for some of the stuff that's happened in the past. Sometimes that's the whole argument behind reparations.
mm,
And although people understand that on a social or a sociological scale, they often don't understand it when it pertains to a person's personal family and life. Had all those things not gone wrong, had all those biases not existed, not just in the court, not just in the judge that was making the ruling that believed that I should not be asking for alimony, that I should be working out of the home without knowing what my responsibilities were,
wow.
how seriously I took them, and how little involvement he had, as well as how much he did to cause most of the problems. Had she understood how abuse continues, the abuse did not stop with the divorce,
Mm,
and him now disappearing because he saw an opportunity to disappear, and he saw an opportunity that would literally cause a mental health crisis for me that I haven't been able to get out of. Um, I stay calm because people stop listening when I don't.
you know what I want to say? No matter how you feel, you speak your mind, okay? You know what? This is Consciously Aware Podcast. I'm ChillyMoe. This is War and Peace. We're speaking about being conscious, but dealing with people that has a sense of unconscious behavior. And I want to segue into something that came to me, a very good song by SGF Graham, which is a very familiar person to you, I know. And this is Believe by SGF Graham.
SGF Graham. With this song, you gon' call me Levin. Cause that's what I'm on today. Charged up. Mind keep me armed up. Yeah. Lame ducks come with mind games, no fucks. Yeah. Really giving, they approaching, I'm like, and what? Can I handle me? I'm finicky, don't hang with nuts. Yeah. I got 2 already, 3 if you count my noggin. Only we need it, think y'all it's been a while for that option. Turn pain to fertilizer, rose a couple flowers. Dandelion and some burdock help improve the powers. Before the hate could congregate, I pray it dissipate. Never out loud, I never stop in my quiet space. They pray for my downfall, I rise up out the way. Enemy, high energy, man in the mirror, happy face. Quiet by my grace, let it all when it take place. How did I arrive and let divine lead me to the safe? Code already know it like imprinted in my DNA. I taste the whole pie, you barely striving for a piece of cake. Wake and bake, little freaky that'll make it shake. A ride that'll make them hate, can't hear you so you make it quick. I'm striving for a crowd, just a little tip to rip the scale. No wishing well, who gon' touch these stars?
They ain't gotta believe in me, just need the person in the mirror to see it through.
I see
it more than enough, you see. Deep down, they know that they feel it too.
I know.
They ain't gotta believe in me, just need the person in the mirror to see it through.
I see
More than enough, you see. Deep down, they know that they feel it too. No, you feel it too.
I know. Move clouds, remove clowns that cause doubt. Get with those that chose to go northbound. The peace that they need, abundance frequency. Equip to play that D and get that touchdown. Punching and recording, only time that I got punched out. Mighta would've changed if I didn't find what my worth about. Used to be a pun, always a king with the Pope's mind. Embrace the right side, so divine, now we both combine. In my prime, Josephine and Maggie, David and best occurrences, blood feel like magic. Yours could feel the same if you activating through traffic. Slow down, feel a little till it's feeling like you have it. Wanna know them really check intentions over action. Realize majority need Grammys for their acting. Swear they got the remedy, but recipe is lacking. I move through the factions, notice one, but somehow
You gotta
fraction.
believe
Why?
in me, just
They
need the
got
person in the mirror to see it through.
Yeah.
More than enough, you see. Deep down, they know that they feel it.
I know.
You ain't gotta believe in me, just
They
need the
got
person in the mirror to see it through.
Yeah.
More than enough, you see.
I
Deep
know.
down, they know that
I
they
know.
feel it too. No, you feel it too.
I know.
I love me some SGF Graham.
Yeah, he's a favorite around here, I believe. So, Gil, I want to ask you one question.
Sure. Can
Well, I've
I
been
actually
asking.
answer the other part of that question that you said? Which one am I, war or peacefully?
Of
That's
course.
the part that's been, I think, trapping me, because what I need to go forward are some advocates. I need some legal representation. I need some investigators to find out what happened, and you know what can be done about it. I need advocacy to be able to rebuild and go forward, and I need friends. And a lot of this has been really isolating. It destroyed my last relationship in some ways. It's so, am I war or peacefully? You know what? I have always wanted peace, but I never shied away from a good protest. And I'm not even against a riot every now and then, if you want to be honest, because sometimes people, if they're not heard, there's a breaking point. There's a breaking point. And if you haven't been heard long enough, you know, it's when people think something negative about you. He's left me with a social disease. And when people think that something is negative about you, they can treat you how they want to. You know, I've had medical problems that I believe are pretty serious, that I have been going to the doctors about for a couple of years, and I keep getting back that I'm just fine. Well, the things that are happening tell me no, I'm not. And you know, I've had people who misunderstand different types of narcissistic abuse or more covert abuse, and then become a part of it too, because they want to be helpful, but what they see as symptoms of perhaps gaslighting, perhaps prolonged stress, perhaps other things, they want to treat as mental illness, and they're not treated the same. You can't put me on a pill and make me quiet. I'll drool and talk. So if you want to know if I'm war or peacefully, I'm both. I'm always going to be both, because there are reasons to fight, and I hate war,
That
but there
makes
are
sense.
reasons to fight.
I only say that because I can tell that you don't mind going through what you're going through. Because, you know, I went to therapy, and they said if you can admit to what you're going through, that's the first step of getting over it. When you're in denial is when you're not even trying to get over it.
Well, here's the
So,
thing. People say I'm in denial. I'm not in denial about anything.
no, you're not. I can
I'm
tell.
but my mental health issues, the really only diagnosis I truly have is ADHD. And I lived most of my life with that diagnosis without having to use medication. I didn't start needing medication until a few years into my marriage, when the abuse continued and escalated. So the problem is that people want to conflate the symptoms of abuse. I mean, think about it with the stereotypes of with women. When women are assertive, when women don't take any shit, when they've got strong opinions, what do you often call her? A bitch, right?
A confident
Um,
woman. You
uh,
know,
but is she a bitch, or is she just tired of people over talking her? Is she tired of not having her voice taken seriously? Has she learned that in order to gain respect in certain circles, she has to let go of some of her softness?
mm,
There are other women who are able to maintain their softness and command the same respect and more respect to them. That's a skill. That's a skill, one that I used to have until
mm.
people stopped hearing me. Um, and I think when somebody tells you what's going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
it's important uh, to accept what they're saying. Now, of course, if it's something that's a provable, flat out lie,
Right.
that's one thing. But if it's something that they can see evidence of and present evidence of, then that is their truth. Their perceptions may be off, but that's their truth. And there's something to be said about understanding why.
That's true. Gilly, tell
Hmm.
me one thing you're proud of I mean, tell me one thing that you're proud of yourself about. One thing that you're proud that you accomplished, did, or um, you kind of understand what I'm saying. I can't get the question out because I have so many different ways I want to ask you.
When I have a conviction about something,
Okay.
whether it be a choice, whether it be who I love,
Mm.
whether it be what I believe or what I'll participate in.
Okay.
There have been times that I haven't had a choice but to go against one conviction over another bigger conviction. For instance, my body autonomy over the protection of my children. The protection of my children came first. But then you carry those traumas, right? But what I am proud of is I can have the whole world against me, and sometimes it feels like it is. And I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change unless it's a change that feels authentic to me and that is coming from a place of progress for me.
Okay. Have you ever been in a role of leadership?
What bigger role of leadership is there than being a mom?
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's so something that people, and I am going to get emotional here, but something that people have
It's okay.
really been on me about, whether they're feminists or they're part of the patriarchy or they don't have a dog in either race. They just don't like the way that I am because it doesn't align with their worldview. But my greatest purpose in this life, and had it been my only purpose, is to be a mother, to love,
Be patient. It's okay to
to
cry.
to have the privilege
Yeah.
of taking a shot
Yes.
at doing it the best way you can figure out how.
Yes.
And that begins with every day. When you get to begin every day, and I will extend this not only to my children, but anybody that will be my family or that has been, and that means partners. That means their extended family. But that means people. God, that means people that you see on the fucking street that people are just walking past and ignoring, or a person who everybody is ganging up on online. Perhaps they sound crazy. Who the fuck knows? But like, if you have an opportunity to tell somebody who you are is incredible. It's unique. It's its own unique flavor and voice. And I don't care, I don't care, kid, if you're 5 today or if you're 29. Be who you want to be. Keep fucking dreaming.
Yes.
Because you got it. Don't let the world push you into this trap. And a lot of people resent me because in some ways they might look at me as entitled and lazy right now. And I'm not. I'm exhausted. I have grief, overwhelming grief.
Okay.
I have social anxiety that I've never had to navigate before, as a effect of the treatment that I received when people thought they knew me, and as a result of the friends and family that I lost when they wanted to look at the 14-year-old me who also needed some love and to be listened to. And I have particularly my youngest, who is being put in that position. I have two people in my life right now who are being made to hide their identity in one way or another. And to live inauthentically and to be kept away. And the one person that wouldn't let a single person say one sideways word about you because they know you and they love you unconditionally, to have that person not only be kept separate from you, but to be punished for standing up for that person, to be punished for loving that person, to be punished for resembling that person in any way, shape, or form. What I'm experiencing and what I imagine they're experiencing as a result of that, unless there are things that I don't know, and there are people that are watching after them, but even then, if they don't know me, they don't know what I did for my kids.
Gilly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a 2-minute to a 5-minute break, and I'm going to go into a song, get you some water, and then we'll come back after this song.
That's fine. I
Everybody,
just want to say, if you don't know who I am as a mother and that my kid needs me, and you're cooperating in any sort of way and keeping me separate from my child, you are responsible for what happens.
this is
And if
conscious.
you are in a position to advocate, I need that. They need that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. This is Consciously Aware Podcast. I'm ChillyMoe. And I want to get into this song by the Universe Badge. I believe it's a great time to hear it. The song is titled Yesterday Was Just a Word by Universe Badge.
Yesterday is just a word.
Tycoon on the beat.
Seasons change and so do I. Storms may come, yet they pass by. Rain falls heavy, still I grow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. Pain tried to change me while keeping me bound. With echoes of silence, a haunting sound. With every scar, it taught me to let go. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. Healing means removing the me of the past, breaking old patterns that never could last. I rise from the ashes, I bloom as I grow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. The rain bursts the flowers, the night bursts the day. Through every shadow, I carved my way. I stand in the presence, my spirit aglow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. What was meant to break me has only shaped me. Stronger than ever, I shall flow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. I've walked through the fire, I've danced in the rain. Every step forward, I've welcomed the pain. I won't complain, I won't let it stow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. Alignment in my purpose, now clearly I see. The universe was guiding me silently. In balance, I rise, in trust I grow. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know. The seeds that I planted are beginning to show. Knowledge and proof, you reap what you sow. With peace in my soul, I let the past go. Yesterday is just a word, then now is all I know.
To anyone that's still with me and that'll come in later. Understand that we all have choices and we all have to deal with the consequences of our choices and our actions. So what I'm saying, I'm only saying that to say we shouldn't live in this world to judge anyone. We should be more willing because you never know if we'll be in a time of need ourselves. And as I sit here with my guests and I'm rehearsing every word and remembering everything she told me, I'm just thinking back on all the times that I was in need and all the times that I was able to help someone and all the times that I was on the other end of the phone just listening to someone venting, not complaining, venting, not going through a dilemma, just dealing with a situation. It's how we word things. It's how we get through to people. So, Gilly, I want to say we're down to our last 9 minutes, and I want you to just let it out. I want you to have the rest of this platform, this 9 minutes, to just say what you would say to the 14-year-old Gilly.
14-year-old Gilly wouldn't have put up with any of this shit, for one. Um, the 14-year-old Gilly had a lot more energy. But what else the 14-year-old Gilly had was a mother who wasn't restricted from access to her. Was a community that supported her even when her family didn't always. Were members of the family that did support, and not just family that I was born into, but family that was grafted in by. I had two incredible godmothers who took me in. I had a friend, a best friend in school, who saw what happened when I was 14 and took me in, and her parents took me in until my mom could get me back. The difference between me and my mom is my mom, once she got me back, she didn't fight it. I would fight it. And I would tell the 14-year-old Gilly that your mom was doing what she thought was best. And she, in a lot of ways, was listening to you, because I thought I knew it all at 14. And my desire at 14 was to have compassion even for the people that hurt me, to try to understand their story, to try to not take it personally. And I think there's part of me, the war and peace, Lily, there's part of me that says, I don't care if it's personal or not. I don't care what their problems were. If they had the power, and we got to look at that real closely, because sometimes, I had talked earlier about learned helplessness. And that's a real thing. There are certain things that do end up having power over us. You had mentioned something about choice, that we all have choices and that there are consequences for those choices. But unfortunately, when there are imbalances of power, either in your home, in your relationship, or in the systems that we depend on, the institutions that we depend on, that choice is sometimes taken. You can be medicated without consent. You can be held in a hospital without consent, and without any investigation going on into what's actually going on. What I would tell not just the 14-year-old, the 15-year-old me, because I've got a 15-year-old me who's also their own person, and I want to make that real clear. There will be people who hear you and understand you. There will be people who not only are willing to take you seriously, but willing to take up those causes with you. You are a leader. You have a unique perspective, a unique voice. Your anger, just as much as your compassion, is beautiful and it's transformative. And what I mean by that is you have the ability to look at somebody who's suffering, to stand by their side, whether or not it makes things easy for you, whether or not it takes a toll on you. You have that ability to stand by their side and to offer pure, unconditional love based on the fact that they're a human being and deserve to feel like one. And that is a strength that hardly anybody talks about, that a lot of people undervalue. And don't let anybody ever undervalue you, because they're wrong. Period. There is no long explanation about it. And if you know that something is wrong, sometimes you got to play the game a little bit. Like I said, I'm calm when I speak right now, because if I'm not, people stop hearing me. But if you were to see me on the inside, you know, oftentimes my outside behavior now that is so unlike who I actually am, that does not represent me in an accurate or authentic light at all. I'm a hard worker. I bust my ass. I am somebody who shows up for everybody that I can. And I am somebody who would never let anybody keep me away from my kids. I am somebody who would never let anybody hurt my partner or my family, even family that's hurt me. So understand that choice isn't always as cut and dry as people want to make it. Because the reality is that people in positions of power, and sometimes that's just emotional power, right? The emotional power one person has over another. When there is an imbalance or a lack of reciprocity in the way one person feels versus the other, that in itself is an imbalance. And if you're in that position and you take advantage of that position, not to help another, but to keep them down, keep them quiet, keep them passive, keep them compliant, change them into something that they're not, then shame on you. Because although we all have choices, you had a bigger array of them. And you know, it's very popular to say that what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And I think there are a lot of people sitting in jail or dying or hooked on drugs or in toxic relationships that would disagree.
Okay.
That what makes us stronger is people standing next to us and saying, you know what? I love you. You got this. I'm not going anywhere, and you're not fighting this alone. You want to make somebody stronger? Tell them who they really are.
There you go. Okay. This is Consciously Aware Podcast. I'm ChillyMoe, Warren P. No, better yet, this is Gilly. And this is Consciously Aware Podcast. And I'm your host, ChillyMoe. Until next time.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah. I move with purpose, baby. I move it, I groove it. I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with. Wake up, head raised, thank y'all, I ain't done. Might not be where I want, but my enemies ain't won. Break down, roll one, clear mind, pour none. Advice, got some, they see what's did, not what's done. That's life, keep going, no pain, no growing. What's attained, don't show it. Your heart, console it, it's just you that owe it. They actors performing while they in your circumference. How bad do you want it? In heart, start purging. Love me on purpose. Must leave, you hurt me. No homie, you homie. Ain't no broad, too pretty. Let bad vibes keep lurking. My energy high, ain't working. No one is perfect. Intentions sing early. Keep results, he Murray. No birdies round, keep chirping. Drop out, drop win, just feel. Y'all put me just once, might fool me. Try twice, suck it, suck it. Purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, 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 yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with purpose, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get to it, keep moving, keep grooving. I do this, I move with. No luck, grew up, send out intention. Throw strikes when pitching, home runs when hitting. You wish bad, pray fast, send back to who send it. Keep coming, get litty. Eli when defending. Surround myself with ones that's like me. On lane, no biting. Keep it real, no fighting. Go straight, yeah, that way just goes. Entice me. Drop out, drop win, just feel, get like me. I groove it, I move it, I groove it, I move with purpose, baby.
You've been listening to Consciously Aware Podcast with your host, ChillyMoe, where voices awaken and awareness takes root. Carry these words with you. Let them echo beyond this moment, because truth only lives when it is lived out loud. Until next time, stay awake, stay present, and always remain consciously aware.